All right, so Green Party supporters and Zack Polanski fans and Gary Stevenson fans are all still horrendously like coping. I don't know what else to call it. I tried to call it coping, but it is with the fallout of this the rest is politics leading interview, where Zack could not say, I believe it was how much the deficit was, how much the top rate of income tax was, what the difference between debt and deficit is, and could not at all, and named a list of economists that he listens to that were like Gary Stevenson and Yanis Varoufakis and Richard Murphy, this accountant on YouTube. So that's how it went, okay? And they're still coping about it. They're still desperately trying to come up with ways around it not looking totally fucking terrible and being completely shameful from a mainstream political leader to not have the answers on these topics. And we've got this here, so let's have a look. So this is from Navarro Media. So there's a big lefty YouTube channel. And we've got tweets from a guy called Aaron Bastani, who I believe either runs Navarro or is one of the presenters on it. And yeah, let's have a look. So, Rory Stewart said he was horrified at Zack Polanski's economics after interviewing the Green Party leader with Alistair Campbell on their podcast, The Rest is Politics Leading. On Navarro Live, Aaron Bastani and Kieran Andrew dissected Stewart's own economic strategy as part of a catastrophically economically illiterate Tory government, which made a bodge job of the economy. Okay, yeah, Rory doesn't defend austerity, but sure.
You can't give me a rough figure on how much we're spending on debt interest every year?
There's £70 billion that we owe to the Bank of England, but we don't actually owe that money.
You mean the debt or the deficit?
The debt.
Okay, the debt is
Sorry,
much
the deficit, sorry.
Tell us which economists you're listening to. Who are your intellectual influences here?
Brilliant people. So Grace Blakely, Richard Murphy, who's been doing a lot of work on this, Gary Stevenson, who I know you've had on recently, James Meadway.
I was horrified beyond belief on the economic stuff. It's not acceptable.
Rory Stewart became an MP in 2010 when the Tories formed a government. David Cameron was Prime Minister. Do you really think that all those Tory MPs knew the difference between the debt, the deficit, debt interest? I don't believe they did because they made such a horrific bodge job of the economy after they got in.
Rory Stewart was part of a government.
Not knowing the figures and having like an ideology that plays out poorly are two very different things, but sure, whatever.
That was the most catastrophically economically illiterate government in maybe 60 or 70 years. I think Thatcher did more harm to the British economy, structurally speaking, over time. But I think Osborneomics was the greatest missed opportunity for the British economy in the post-war period. And actually...
Wow, so it's just saying a bunch of shit that literally doesn't even relate to Rory. I don't care. Doesn't relate to any of the arguments made. Literally totally worthless. So that's the first little bit here. So Grace Blakely, this is one of the people that Zack cites. I don't know if she's got like any degree or anything. I honestly don't know. She says, I'm not an economist. I'm a Marxist. I don't study the economy. I study capitalism, a social system in which the wealthy and their political allies, like Rory and Alistair, control the resources everyone else needs to survive. If they approved of me, I wouldn't be doing my job. So this is like just, you know, that's not a defense. That's like basically you saying like, okay, yeah, Zack shouldn't have cited you then. So when Zack was asked, which economists is he listening to, he should not have said your name because you're not an economist. You're a Marxist theorist. And so you shouldn't have even been mentioned. You shouldn't have been brought up. Okay, good. We all agree then. So you were not a valid answer to that question. Zack still sounds retarded. Got you. So, Gary Stevenson also replied. So let's see this. What did Gary Stevenson say? Well, he wrote a letter in a comment to Rory, okay? In a recent episode of The Rest is Politics, the well-known podcaster and former politician Rory Stewart described me as a pseudo-economist on the alleged and incorrect basis of me not having any postgraduate degrees. I do, in fact, have a 2-year economics master's degree from Rory Stewart's own alma mater, Oxford University. In all honesty, this was a sad moment for me. I have enjoyed Rory's work for quite some time, and hoped him to be a well-researched and honest man. It's been disappointing to find that is not always true. as someone who has actually himself received a professorship at Harvard, seemingly without any postgraduate degrees, on the basis of his achievements in his professional career, I would also have hoped that Rory understood that achievements in the workplace can often be as educational, if not more educational, than achievements within academia. Okay, Gary, so we'll go over this in a minute. I hope this was merely a case of a rare mistake of bad researching, and I expect Rory Stewart to do the honest thing, publicly own up to his mistake, and correct the record. The life of a high-achieving working-class person in elite spaces is to be constantly accused of having not really done the things which you have done. This has happened to me many times in my life. I've come to expect from polite British society. But I did not expect it from Rory Stewart. Be better, Rory. Apologise and correct the record publicly. I'll be waiting. Tax wealth, not work. Well, I will say, Rory should probably correct that you do actually have a postgraduate degree. Sure, absolutely fair. You actually do need to be attacked even harder for this post, sadly. Because several glaring issues here. First of all, simply having the postgraduate doesn't really make you an economist. You're not like a practicing economist. You haven't written any papers on economics. You haven't really written any serious policy proposals or anything. Done any research. Totally irrelevant. You know, sure, you got a postgraduate degree. You shouldn't have said that. Fair enough. Now, where this statement is really bad. As someone who himself has received a professorship at Harvard, seemingly without any postgraduate degrees, on the basis of his achievements in his professional career, I would have also hoped that Rory could have understood that achievements in the workplace can often be as educational, if not more educational, than achievements in academia. So, Rory, yes, received it for his professional work. But he teaches stuff like international affairs, you know, international development, stuff that he worked in. Gary did not work in economics. Gary has never worked in economics. Gary was a trader. Gary was a trader. Not only was Gary a trader, Gary lied about how good of a trader he was. Because he claims he was the greatest trader in the world. Best trader in Citibank. Best trader in Citibank. Total fucking lie. Greatest trader in the world. He's the best in the world at it. Wasn't. Total fucking lie. As corroborated by numerous of his ex-colleagues in the Financial Times reporting on him. So, total fucking liar about what he did. Now, he's not even become an economist now. His book was not about economics. His book was about his biography, just going through becoming a trader, being the best trader in the world, fucking lie, and then dipping out of it for his mental health, saying that, oh, it's too much of a strain, you know, I had to break down, I had to get out of it. So, he did not write a book on economics even. Nothing to do with economics. It's just like a pandering, oh, you know, isn't it so hard being so rich book? You know, it's so hard getting to the top and being the best in the world. And you just break down, you burn out, even though he wasn't the best in the world. Even though he wasn't anywhere near the fucking best. Fucking loser. Lying fucking rat. So, he is a total liar. And he's leaning on it more and going, oh, well, I'm working class, so you can't accuse me of lying. You can't accuse me of lying. But you are lying, Gary. So stop being such a fucking traitor. Okay? Stop being such a fucking traitor and making everyone else look bad by leaning on the fact you're fucking working class to try and excuse the fact that you're a lying, dishonest rat. So I do think Rory should correct that he said he doesn't have a postgraduate when he does. Fair enough. However, the rest of this is complete fucking bullshit and makes him look even worse than he would have if he just didn't reply to any of it. And then this fucking idiot, where's Bastani? Yeah, I've got a history MA, doesn't make me a historian, da-da-da-da. So, you are a pseudo-economist. You're a pseudo-economist. Do you prefer YouTuber? Do you prefer YouTuber, Gary? He must prefer YouTuber. Sorry, Gary Stevenson is a YouTuber. Oh, wait. Sorry, we're on the Aaron Bastani tweet. It's him saying it. But yeah, YouTuber is the correct term. Gary Stevenson did maths at the LSE. Anyone not familiar with that knows it's serious. Anyone familiar with that knows it's serious. He was a trader with Citibank in multiple countries. He has an MPhil in economics at Oxford. Issue for Stuart is he's a working class guy with 1 million followers on Instagram and YouTube. Yeah, that's the actual truth though. That's what he's got. That's what matters. He's got a bunch of followers. He's got a bunch of social media followers. That's what Gary Stevenson has. He's not an economist. He's just not. It's fair enough to call him a pseudo-economist or a YouTuber. That's a fair comment. So I've got a history MA, doesn't make me a historian. Stevenson isn't an idiot. But he's not someone that the leader of a political party should be citing as an inspiration for an economic worldview. I've met economists in many places with an inferior CV. I'm playing this straight. He's a yeah, but it's different. They're different areas of expertise. Dude, oh my God, I can't take it, man. Just because you're a good trader at Citibank does not mean you understand macroeconomic policy. You don't understand the fiscal decisions that countries have to make. It's so fucking annoying. Aaron, he's not an economist. Having a maths degree doesn't make you an economist. Doing a master's degree doesn't make you an economist. Being a city trader doesn't make you an economist. Words have definitions. He may have an impressive CV. He's not an economist. He's an authoritative voice on the economy. He could be a senior economist in industrial or the third sector. Yes, okay. An economist would understand how taxation works, specifically when preaching about it so much.
How many billionaires are in the UK?
There's a lot of billionaires in the UK.
It's 150.
Yeah, so tax them all. What do they pay?
Yeah.
Listen, I worked my tits off and I paid, it was 50% top rate of tax. 50% top rate of tax, plus national insurance, 60%.
So $1 million a year.
To bring my family out of poverty. At the same time, the Duke of Westminster inherited £10 billion and paid nothing. Do you think that's fair?
That's not true.
Okay, why is it not true?
Because the Duke of Westminster is one of the highest taxpayers in the country.
What does he pay?
Well, on the trust, the Grosvenor estate, they don't pay inheritance.
Yeah, I love how lefties would have said, like, basically what lefties would have said about a trader before is, traders don't even do anything. You don't have to be smart to be a trader. They just give out the jobs to all the Nepo babies because all you're doing is shuffling money around. You're just moving money around and pretending like it's more money somehow. That's what they would say about traders 2 years ago. Gary's Economics shows up. Oh, actually, if you just press the button, everything can be fixed. Oh, you know, traders are the smartest people in the world because you see, capitalism knows you have to have the smartest people doing these calculations. So they understand the economy better than anyone does. Better than anyone does because they're securing the wealth for the richest people.
Inheritance tax, because trusts can't die, they pay something called periodic taxes,
Which is how much?
6% every
How
10
often?
years.
6%, so they pay 0.6%
Just
a
one
year.
sec.
So I paid
Just one
6%.
Dude,
hold on.
the performative biscuits, literally, this guy should be fucking tried for his performative biscuits, bro.
And this guy pays 0.6%.
Apples with apples, inheritance tax is 40% across the course of your life. If a trust is, if a person lives who owns a trust for 70 years, then 6% times 7 would be 42. So they actually pay more.
So
in
he pays
inheritance tax.
0.6% a year.
Pro
You're
rata.
telling me 0.6%
But that would
a
be
year.
the same as...
What percent did I pay per year?
No, but that's...
60%.
Hold up.
So you're saying I pay, what's 60 over 0.6?
No.
100
You're not
times the tax rate.
You're not
is what I
comparing
paid.
apples with apples.
Wait, why is it not apples with apples? This
Because-
guy pays 0.6% a year. I
That-
paid
no.
60% a year.
That's inheritance
I
tax.
paid that 60%
You're
every
talking
year, Daniel.
income
Every
tax.
year I paid
You're
it.
paying income tax.
So why have I
The
paid?
Duke of Westminster
why do
pays
I pay
income
more
tax.
than him?
The Duke of Westminster pays income tax. He probably makes your bill blush.
Yeah, you think he pays income tax?
Yeah, well, if he's going to live, he has to withdraw money to have his income. He also, let me give you a list of
Okay.
all the taxes he would pay. He'd pay income tax, corporate tax. He'd pay stamp duty when he buys a building. He pays any of the other taxes, VAT when he spends money. All the same taxes apply to a duke as they apply to anybody else.
So you think he pays
There's-
income tax
there's-
on the income on that?
Any income he draws.
Okay,
would-
well, our
would
viewers
pay
can
tax.
research whether he pays income tax on his income. Because
Of
I don't
course
think he
he pays.
does.
I mean, how could he
It's in
not?
a trust.
He's
It's in a trust.
But the only difference with a trust
Yeah.
Does
versus
a
income
duke
is that
pay
the trust pays
income tax?
periodic tax versus inheritance
At
tax.
Yes.
0.6%.
But we're only talking inheritance. That's just
Okay.
one type of tax.
So you
Trust,
think he's paying 60% on his income?
he's one of the highest taxpayers in the UK. I'm not like his big fan club, but the truth is he's one of the highest taxpayers in the UK. He's one of the biggest employers in the UK. He's one of the
One of the biggest landowners in the UK.
landowners in the UK, right? So the issue is does he pay tax? All the same taxes that apply to you apply to him. And if you want to set up a trust, you can also pay periodic taxes as well, which would be on top of all the other
So
taxes.
what would you say?
But it's just not true
This
that he
guy,
doesn't pay tax.
No, what would you say? This guy, he's inherited £10 billion. So he's worth £10 billion. What would you say will be the total amount of tax he will pay in his lifetime?
Well, I know that just the smallest.
If I make £10 billion, I'm paying 60%.
Just one sec. You're talking about income versus the transfer of an estate.
So why is it that the
'cause
Duke
you're
of
confused.
Westminster
Like,
just
what
worth
is this
£10
guy
billion?
doing?
Just you're comparing.
He's just not
your
engaging. He's just like, is Gary just like totally dishonest? Is he just locking down the conversation here because he knows he can't answer the questions and can't engage?
income
Yeah,
versus the amount he inherited, which is not a fair thing. That's not
because
income.
that's his income.
Inheritance is not income.
So wait. So if I get given £10 billion, I don't pay any tax. But if I work for £10 billion, I pay 60%.
Well, if you inherit
If this
it,
is the tax system that
That's
you
what I'm
want,
saying.
you will end up in a system
I'm just
where
simply saying-
the kids of the rich will own everything.
I'm just saying
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And that's fine because that's our kids.
You're not
That's
telling the
fine. You know
truth
what?
about his
Let's support it.
situation.
Let's have a tax system where your kids and my kids and Stephen's kids are multimillionaires and these guys out there can't afford to feed their kids and put the heat in.
That's not what I'm
Is that-
saying.
But that's
It's
what
just
you
like
will get.
moralising.
That's not what I'm
That is
saying.
what you will get.
Moralising.
Listen, that's what I'm betting on. That's fine because I'll make money in the markets. It's fine. And you'll make money and you'll make money. It's our viewers who will be poor. And that's fine. That's fine. It's
It's
fine
so
for
crazy.
us.
They're
let's
like posturing the. See, I figured this all out. I'm betting it. I'll make all the money in the world. I'll be rich anyway because I'm betting on everything falling down. Yeah, it's just so shut the fuck up, man.
Explore the other alternative, right? So let's say tax the rich, right?
Yeah.
So let's play the game of tax the rich.
Tax the owners, not
Tax-
the workers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I'm waiting for some dark allegations to come out about this Gary fella.
So the issue that we have with the rich is that the number one most valuable assets in the economy now are intangible assets. So there's this chart called the S&P 500 of the 500 richest countries in the world, in the US, sorry. In 1970s, 75% of the value of the S&P 500 was physical assets like property. And today it's less than 10%. It's closer to 5%.
So you think that housing is not particularly important?
Just let's stick with what I'm saying.
Okay.
The powerhouse, the engine room of the economy is digital assets, and that's reflected in the S&P 500, for example, which is 95% intangible assets. One of the issues that we have is that the richest people are completely mobile now, so they can be absolutely anywhere in the world. So if you come up with this idea of let's tax richest people 1%, if a tiny proportion of them leave, we're all in trouble. So
These really rich guys, what do they own?
companies,
And why are those companies worth money?
because investors say they are.
And where do the revenues come from?
Globally.
Okay.
The issue is that these companies operate globally now.
So if
like,
I'm a
my
billionaire...
take my company, for example.
Yeah,
My company has 8,000 customers in 150 countries.
okay.
We could be anywhere. If you push a
What
button,
country is your biggest single revenue source?
probably the US now.
Let's say you move to Cayman Islands and the US says we're going to tax your revenue at point of sale. What can you do?
Well, that's different, right? Because that's not taxing billionaires, that's taxing companies. See, when you say tax the rich on their wealth,
Yeah.
that's different to saying tax companies a consumption tax.
Oh, well, but you just said the rich own companies. You said that's what they own.
Yeah, but you're saying, how do you tax them, right? So do they...
You're proposing a wealth tax. You're proposing a wealth tax. You're saying there should be a tax on wealth. That's what you're proposing, Gary. That's your whole thing. Wait, now you're just saying we should look at increasing rates of business tax. We should try and make sure that businesses are all contributing. Since when was that your fucking position? Since when was that your position? Your whole thing is the wealth tax.
Do you tax their wealth, which
Yeah.
is what they own, or do you tax the companies where they trade? Typically, consumption taxes get passed on to consumers.
Oh,
So-
it's not consumption tax. It's the tax on the ownership.
Yeah, but if you simply say when you're doing revenues, then
So
that's
you're
a
saying
consumption
if we start to tax
And by the way,
profits of companies...
by the way, I'm not exactly against you on companies. I think it's disgusting that a British company can take out a Facebook ad to sell to a British consumer a British product, and Facebook pretends to be in Ireland on that transaction. And Amazon, you can buy something on Amazon in Britain from a British supplier from a British warehouse.
Wow. So yeah, that's some of the Zack Polanski cope. They're just like, and Gary Stevenson cope. They're just like beyond fucking parody. So we're gonna watch this video as well. This is by this guy called Femi, who calls into LBC and like debates Farage sometimes and stuff like that. He's like he's all over the place. But he's just uploaded this video. He's usually a Labour guy, but he just uploaded this video saying how Zack Polanski got me to join the Green Party. So I've not got high hopes. I thought this guy was okay.
Back to F politics. I've been keeping something from you.
I'm joining the Green Party because fascists are on the rise.
Before we get into why I joined the Greens from a moral perspective, let me tell you why I joined the Greens from a selfish perspective. Because if Zack Polanski isn't our next Prime Minister, then there's a very good chance in the next 10 years I simply won't be alive anymore. Because Keir Starmer, not going to be our next Prime Minister. Even if Wes Streeting takes over, he's not going to change the party enough to win. And even if Andy Burnham does manage to take over the Labour Party and give us a fair voting system, meaning there'll be a progressive majority in Parliament, it's anybody's guess whether or not the leader would be Zack Polanski or Andy Burnham. But given that Andy Burnham isn't even an MP right now, that's a long shot. So the brass tacks of it is, if the Greens don't win the next election, we're going to have a Nigel Farage Prime Minister. And I just don't know how people like me survive that. Because Nigel Farage specifically platformed Lucy...
Okay. You're going to be fine, Femi. Femi, I think you're going to be fine, buddy. 50k subs on YouTube, getting decent views. You got a bit of money in the bank. Femi, come on, bro. I think you're going to be fine. Let's be fucking serious here, yeah? Yeah, if you were an asylum seeker living in a fucking Premier Inn, I might understand what you're saying here. You're not, though, are you? Can we be fucking serious for a minute?
Connolly because she called for black and brown people to be burned alive. Lee Anderson, another Reform MP, defended the rioters who were hunting ethnic minority people in the streets. And the Reform Party have shown on 4 separate occasions that if I'm in an area that they control, then they are willing to use physical force to get rid of me because I'm critical of them. So, if Zack Polanski isn't our next Prime Minister, we will have a regime that legitimizes the incitement to mass murder of black and brown people and has shown that they are willing to use physical force to shut me up. How well do you think I do under those circumstances? I'm not being alarmist, those are just the facts. But as for why I decided it was the moral thing to do to join the Green Party, it was mainly seeing this interview.
I'm vegan, I don't drive, I don't fly, like I do everything you need to be a good Green, but it's all bollocks. I only don't do that stuff because I don't want to be called a hypocrite by the right-wing shock jock, so I make the sacrifices in my life because I have the power and privilege to do so, so I just go, you know what, it's easier to do the right thing and it's good to do the right thing. But there's no reason why someone can't do all of those individual responsibilities and not be an environmentalist or not give a shit about the planet. Like the problem of the corporations that are destroying our environment, they're destroying our democracy and they're destroying our communities.
Because ever since the referendum in the days of Caroline Lucas, I've been a huge fan of the Greens, and one day I'll tell you exactly how I met Caroline Lucas. It is mortifying for me. But I've always felt like I wasn't worthy of joining the Green Party because, yes, I recycle. Yes, I bike literally everywhere.
I'm not worthy of joining the Green Party.
Every day. And so I always thought that if I ever joined the Green Party, I would be shunned as a heretic.
Shun the non-believer. Yeah.
There's no way this is what was... No, you didn't join the Greens because they weren't a fucking serious electoral party. They didn't have a fucking single shot in hell at ever winning anything. Other than like maybe a couple of marginal MP seats. But now they might actually, you know, they might get like a little group. That's why you're joining now. That's why you're joining now.
That interview showed me that under this Green Party, they weren't going to be purity testing
total
people.
joke.
They understand that the issue is the
you
systems
wouldn't
we
get
live in.
fucking views to join them. They were a total joke. You wouldn't get views. Everyone would ridicule you for joining them. Goes nowhere. Total dead end. That's why you didn't join. Oh, I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel worthy. That's so cap.
Not the people that are trying to get by within those systems. Like, I live in Birmingham, and Birmingham City Council decided to cut the pay of bin workers by up to £8,000, and so we haven't had our recycling collected for like a year. Now, the millions of residents of Birmingham could choose to drive their recycling to the nearest depot every single week, but that doesn't seem very green to me either. So a Green Party that recognizes that people are having to live within systems of power that they don't necessarily control, awesome. And that's reflected in how everything that they've been saying about taxing the rich is vehemently pro-working class. Another reason it took me so long to join was strategy, because I've benefited from not being affiliated to any specific party. You guys trust me because you know that nobody's paying me to say anything. I'm not infected by the gang mentality of party politics. I'm just trying to do what's right, but I joined the Labour Party after the election in 2019 because I knew that was the only way they'd ever listen to me. And I wanted to get Labour to join forces with the Lib Dems and Greens on the basis of changing the voting system to one where all votes would count equally, and given that the majority of the UK almost always votes to the left of the Tories, that would end the slide towards the fascism that we're seeing now. And so I put out a tweet saying, hey Lib Dems and Greens who might be disappointed in me for joining Labour, just know that if I'm successful, then it'll make your votes of your parties actually count for the first time. So technically, me joining Labour is the best thing I could possibly...
The whole, like, you know, posting a tweet thread being like, hey guys, I understand some of you may be disappointed with my decision to join the Labour Party. Here, I'd like to lay out my thoughts. First of all, I would like to try and pressure Labour leadership into... Dude, it's like Voshian. Do you know what I mean? It's like Voshian. Voshian, very lefty Twitch poll type language and presentation here.
Possibly do for your parties as well. But then Labour used that tweet to kick me out of the party because simply acknowledging that a fair voting system would benefit other parties as well was deemed to be betrayal of Labour. And so that's another reason why I was hesitant to join the Green Party, because I feared that in such a tribal political environment it would limit my ability to influence anybody else, especially as there's still work to do inside Labour in terms of getting Andy Burnham to replace Keir Starmer. But I've realised since that that doesn't make any sense, because anybody in Labour who would oppose helping Andy Burnham replace Keir Starmer was never going to listen to me anyway, so joining the Greens wouldn't change that. And in the same way, regardless of which party you're in, somebody joining the Greens shouldn't change how you see them, because the country we're trying to build is one where different progressive parties work together in Parliament, even though they disagree on certain things. That's the kind of UK that a fair voting system would give us, so anybody who's down with creating that kind of UK shouldn't automatically see me as the enemy simply because I joined the Greens, whether you're in the SNP, Plaid Cymru, the Lib Dems, or still working for change within Labour. The only reason we've ever been at each other's throats is because under this first past the post voting system, where only one party can win in your town and only one party ever really controls the government, that means that anybody who's in a party that's even slightly different to yours is an existential threat to you having any say at all. But the UK we're trying to build is one where if there are, say, 10 potential MPs in your city and 2 different left-wing parties each get 30% of the vote and the remaining 40% goes to a right-wing party, under a proportional system that would mean you'd have 6 progressive MPs working together against the 4 right-wing MPs, rather than what we've got now where because the right-wing party scored the highest, they take the whole thing. So if the world we're trying to work towards is one where we're all working together, then why not start now? And Zack Polanski, by focusing so heavily on the cost of living crisis, he's helped turn the Green Party into a broader coalition of people who want to fix the country. And I say helped because it's important to remember that Zack Polanski didn't do this all by himself. The Greens stepped out of their image of being just the environmentalist party during the years where Caroline Lucas was pretty much the best elected politician fighting against Brexit. Because alongside the fact that the government analysis at the time said Brexit was destined to make us poor regardless of how they tried to do it, Brexit was really the first major victory of the far right in the UK. Nigel Farage has pushed for it since he was a kid.
I thought Enoch Powell was right about the common market, which I did in the referendum, which was a minority position, but I held it all the way back then.
So any politician who stood firm and said, nah, fuck that, has my eternal respect. Now, this video is not a glaze of the Greens, Caroline Lucas, or Zack Polanski, because frankly, hero worship has got to end. We can all see how that's playing out with Jeremy Corbyn right now. I'm not backing the Greens because they're perfect, or because I am. For example,
is Corbyn the problem there? Is Corbyn the problem there? I feel like Zara Sultana's like gone crazy, for sure.
They recently invited me and a bunch of other prominent black activists like Nels Abbey, Dr. Shalom Oshagamimu, Narinder Kaur, Basayo Twins, specifically to give them advice on how to address racism properly. That's why I joined them. Like, none of you trust me because you think I know everything or don't make mistakes. You trust me because you know I'm just trying my best. You know that I'm perfectly happy to admit when I'm wrong because it reminds me that I'm still listening to other people. But yeah, what I like about the Greens is that they're actually willing to challenge the far right.
Oh, you actually are a fascist. You're from a far right party.
They're willing to properly address the 2 biggest causes of poverty in the UK, namely economic inequality and Brexit. And now with the Greens actually overtaking Labour in the polls, after a lifetime of us being told you have to vote Labour, otherwise the right will win, which only gave Labour the license to do whatever the hell they wanted because we had no choice but to vote for them, we can finally go another way. And for the future of the country and my own survival, for me, that's the Greens. I'm Femi. Make sure you follow F Politics so Politics doesn't F you. Have a great week.
Wow. That was shit. This guy sucks. He's always shite. Really? I thought I'd send a video and I was like, okay, this guy's fine.